So, what does it mean if God is love? It's kind of crazy if you think about that. Because if there's no God, or if there's a God who's like some of the gods of the pagans and demanding constant sacrifice and blood, or if the universe doesn't really make sense, as many people believe, then things are bleak and terrifying. There's plenty of fear anyway, but perfect love casts out fear, St. John tells us. First of all, let's just look really quickly here. In a couple days, the only reading will be the Psalm, because Psalm 119 is the longest psalm in the Bible, and I don't want to make you read what's in effect a 3-page psalm and also make you read everything else. So today's the shortest psalm, or among the shortest, Psalm 117. For great is his steadfast love towards us, and the faithfulness of the Lord endures forever. God's steadfast love toward us, God's faithfulness toward us, chesed emet, are the two Hebrew words that are the root of the words that are translated as steadfast love and faithfulness. Steadfast love, love you can count on, in other words, faithfulness, fidelity. Because if your mom or dad said, "Oh, we love you, honey, we love you," but then when you needed them, if you broke your arm and they refused to take you to the hospital, you'd say, "I wonder if they really do love me." If they said, "Oh, we'll take you to the hospital, but we got a party tonight, or we got something to do, or, Dad will take you as soon as the football game's over," you would say, "Well, can I count on them? Is there any fidelity in the love that they have for me?" Chesed emet, goodness and fidelity. Goodness, kindness, loving kindness, and faithfulness. That's way back in the Psalm, and that's in the Old Testament, even though many people think, oh, the God of the Old Testament is nothing but horrible. But then we get St. John. God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. By this is love perfected with us, so that we may have confidence for the day of judgment. Because as he is, so also are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. If anyone says, "I love God," and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him: whoever loves God must also love his brother. Well, that's simple. Of course, it's something we don't want to do, particularly many Catholics, by the way, who have shown themselves to be incredibly selfish in the past few years. Nevertheless, that's what we're called to do. But it's based on the fact that he loves us, and we are to be like him in this world, loving. And perfect love casts out fear. Of course, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of anxiety. It's a form of fear. If we had perfect love, we wouldn't have that kind of fear. We would have fear of God, which is awe and wonder and reverence toward God, but we wouldn't have this worldly anxiety. But of course, there's so many things in life that can go wrong. I thought the other day about this. If there is no God, then we die alone. Even if we have friends and family with us, we make that terrifying journey across that river on our own. And yet I know that my wife loves me. Of all the people in the world, she probably loves me more than anybody else. And that love will be with me, even on the day I die, whether she's physically with me or not, because that love lasts longer than death. And I think that's an indication that love is transcendent, that love is not just something of this world. If it were something of this world, then it would be based on How attractive are you? How useful are you? How entertaining are you? You'd be loved based on those characteristics, whereas in fact, the people who really love you, who love you somehow for who you are in spite of all of that, and even when you do things that are wrong, that's how God loves us. And if that's true, then it's something to do with a being that is beyond us. If it were merely something in this world, then it wouldn't matter what we did in this life. So when you doubt that God exists, when you doubt some of these things in the Catholic Church, and when you doubt all of the stuff that you're learning and so forth, all of the things you're hearing from your parents and your priests, think about love. What is love? If St. John is right and God is love, then that means that that kind of willingness to self-sacrifice, that kind of personal and intimate care and concern is central to the very fabric of existence. And in fact, precedes existence and will be here after the day of judgment when existence no longer is, at least earthly existence. Think about love. So here's your assignment for today. Are there things you've run into in your lives that appear to be transcendent, by which I mean eternal, limitless, beyond the bounds of this mortal realm? Things like beauty, things like self-sacrifice. You know, I mean, the soldiers or police officers or firefighters who die in the line of duty, we recognize that as being eternally significant, as the crucifixion is eternally significant. Why is that? Are we just fooling ourselves? Or is there something about acts of love that really do stretch beyond our day-to-day existence? Because if God is love, then everything's going to be all right, better than all right. And if we imitate him and become like Christ, then we will know that he abides in us because we become loving as he is loving. And remember, if you say, I love God, and you've never seen God, but you hate your neighbor, you're a liar. Because you can't love God, whom you have not seen, if you do not love your neighbor or your brother and sister, whom you have seen, difficult as that is. Keep that in mind. That's central. That and 1 Corinthians 13, St. Paul's great hymn of love, this section of St. John, his first epistle, and that section of 1 Corinthians, I think, are the core of the entire Bible. That plus, of course, the crucifixion. It's what it's all about. So tell me, don't just make a comment or ask a question. If you've watched this far, tell me, what have you discovered in your own lives that appears to be everlasting, even triumphing over death and despair?